Hello there and welcome back to the PHP tutorial series. Today we are moving on to functions, both user-defined and predefined. Okay, so a function, what is it? Well, we know that loops can be used to do something multiple times without having to write the code over and over and over. But what if you wanted to do that code over and over and over, but not consecutively? So for example, you might want to do it at the start of the script, then again in the middle of the script, then again at the end of the script. And a function is something that can be used to do that. And a function can also be used to give code a more logical layout, because any PHP is processed in the order that it appears, but a function isn't processed until you call it. So let's have a look at how to create a function. So first we write the word function, simple as that. Then we give our function a name, so I'll call mine my function. You can call it whatever you want. And then two parentheses, then squiggle brackets, like that. And that is a function. And everything inside those squiggle brackets is what will be done. So if we want to say echo hello, okay, and if we save this, it shouldn't do anything. Nope, it does nothing, okay. But as soon as we call my function like that, and we go down, we get hello printed on the page, and that's because it doesn't do anything, so it's called. So we could put a huge load of code in here, and this would do nothing until you write this line. Okay, so that's how a basic function works. Now a function can also take arguments. So for example, let's say we'll make a variable called first argument. Okay, and each argument in here has to be passed in here. So let's say hello, and let's change this to echo first argument. Okay, and we'll refresh, and we still get hello. And that's because we've passed hello into there as the value of first argument here, and it's taken that value and echoed it here. Okay, now any variables outside a function cannot be called inside a function. So if I made a variable here called myvar and gave it a value of world, and I went to echo myvar, we won't get the result, because any variables are cleared within a function. Okay, and likewise, if we made a variable inside there and went echo myvar, it still wouldn't work, because any variables made inside a function are then cleared again when it exits the function. And that's what a function does. So we could copy this and paste it as many times as we wanted. And save that. Go to refresh. Hello, 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 hello. And that's how a function is created and called. Okay. We can have as many arguments as we want in there, but we just have to make sure that for every argument that there is in the function, a value is passed in for it. And what we can also do is we could say, let's clear the arguments, and let's create a variable in here called var and give it a value of 1. Okay, and if we say echo my function, at the moment it will do nothing, but if we say return var, we have 1 printed on the page, because the return function brings back returns a value. So instead of just return saying echoing code or doing something, it will return a value along with it. But you don't have to actually return value. Okay? Now, there are also predefined functions, and there's a whole long list of them, so I don't have time to go into all of them. So if you want to look it up, go on the php.net website and look on the functions manual, and there's plenty there for you to go off. It's got everything from spelling checks to right the way through to numbers, anything. All the useful stuff it's got built in already. But one function I will go into is date functions, very briefly. Okay? We've got a function called mktime, and what that does is it returns a Unix timestamp. So if we go echo mktime, we get what looks like a random series of numbers, but in fact that number has a meaning, and as you see, it changes every time we refresh, going up in value. And that's because that returns the number of seconds that have passed since the 1st of January 1970 at midnight. And that's very useful for finding a date. So if we go use now a function called date, and we use a date format, okay, and we'll say JFY. Now, there are all sorts of different date formats we could use, but this is the one I'm going to use for now. And we'll go mktime. Okay. Now the date function takes 2 arguments. So here we have our date format, and here we have our timestamp. If we go to refresh, oops, echo. There you have it, 4th of November 2008, which is the day this tutorial was recorded. And that is basically how functions work, and that's a little bit touching on the date side of things. So if you're going to ever store dates in a database, don't store it as an actual date, store it as a timestamp, because that way it's easy to change between different dates and formats. Okay, and I'm going to round off this tutorial here because I don't have time to go into all the different functions that are built in, but I hope that's giving you an idea of how functions work and what exactly they are. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for some slightly more advanced stuff.